Let's join this prime with me, Samuel Kojo Brace. In our headlines, Ghana facing another major hurdle in desperate attempt to get debt relief as Germany declares it is only prepared to help if certain conditions are met.
We are willing to take our share of responsibility as one of the major bilateral donors to Ghana, but only if all the others also join in this effort.
We'll hear from the German ambassador to Ghana on a day the finance minister announced the make or break high-powered delegation to China to plead for their support with debt relief has been postponed. Also, sack Ken Ofori-Atta to give the NPP a fighting chance in 2024. NP for subbing charges President Akufo-Addo. We have details as the MP says they will hold the president and the minister to the promise to sack Mr. Ofori-Atta after the IMF bailout is secured. Now, former Minority Leader Haruna Iddrisu bears teeth at the Electoral Commission as he leads the NDC in its opposition to the new ECCI, which makes the Ghana card the sole identity document to become a voter. We have details as Deputy Local Government Minister Obi Amwa says the guarantor system has been abused, the reason why it must be outlawed. Now let's take you to Parliament, where we understand there is commotion over the new ECCI after a debate in Parliament between majority and minority. Our Parliamentary Affairs correspondent Kweku Asante joins us live from Parliament with details. Kweku, what is happening? What can you report?
So, Grace, in the last 3 hours, the minority and the majority side have been at each other's throats. Arguing about the Electoral Commission's proposed CI. Started around 3 o'clock, and it was one of the longest drawn-out debates that I've seen in recent times in the House. The House then adjourned the day's business and decided to go into a committee of the whole to be briefed first by the Electoral Commission and the National Identification Authority, because the EC is seeking to make the Ghana card the sole identity document to enroll onto the voters register. And so the NIA is playing such a critical role here. We understand that when this meeting started, and I should tell you that journalists were asked to leave the chamber when that committee of the whole meeting started. It's quite something new. The last time there was such a committee of the whole, all of us were allowed to be in the chamber. This time around, we're asked to leave. But just when we left about 15, 20 minutes, we heard a lot of noise in the chamber from the adjoining offices where we were. So we went down there, and what we could see were a lot of exasperation, angry MPs, some of them who were coming out of the chamber, not willing to speak to the record, but giving us information as to what exactly was happening in there. Quite some commotion, anger with NPP and NDC MP at each other's throat. We understand the minority MPs at the time said they were not going to allow the EC, which officials was led by the Deputy EC boss, Manasari, to brief the House because they wanted Madame Jane Mensah herself to be in Parliament, and that if she was not going to be there, they were not going to allow that briefing to happen. The majority side, on the other hand, defending the EC, saying that the Deputy EC boss could do so. So just around the time, the Marshal Department, they were asking the security presence around Parliament, all of them to go into the chamber to try and calm tempest. We saw some policemen coming there for about 5 minutes. We understand that the Speaker of Parliament himself has been called to come in. At the time this commotion happened, he was not there himself. And so we understand he has been asked to be there. Just before I came up for this conversation, I saw his security detail entering. So we understand any moment he's supposed to be in the chamber to try and negotiate and try and have some agreement as to whether they are going to continue now or do so tomorrow, Brace.
Hold on, let's hear the former minority leader, Haruna Iddrisu, who earlier said the Electoral Commission must not be allowed to lay its new constitutional instrument in Parliament. The new CI makes the Ghana card the only identification document to be used to guarantee citizenship and age. The minority are also opposed to a regulation in the CI which requires persons who want to register to do so at an EC district office. According to Haruna Iddrisu, these regulations will disenfranchise Ghanaians and must not be allowed to go through.
One, the Electoral Commission was now informing the Ghanaian public through Parliament that only the national ID card issued by the National Identification Authority will be a sole reference document for the purpose of registration. Mr. Speaker, that is the intendment of what is referred to as a draft CI. And in it, if you want, I'll refer to the particular purpose. It says qualification for registration. And then it comes, Mr. Speaker, again to say 2, designation of registration centers. And again, Mr. Speaker, our committee found problems with the designation of the registration center. It says a district office of the commission, a district office of the commission, or any other place that the commission considers appropriate. Mr. Speaker, throughout history in 1993, since the establishment of the Electoral Commission, voter registration exercise is done at polling stations, not district offices. And Mr. Speaker, I'll use the example of Bole. A polling station in the Bole constituency is as far as spending 4 or 5 hours to get to Bole Township in order to be able to be captured and registered as a voter. For the Electoral Commission to designate only district officers is problematic for us constitutionally, is problematic for us administratively, is problematic for us for voters to identify.
Now, the Tamale South legislator said the EC has sinned against the Constitution by not holding limited registration exercises since 2021, thereby disallowing citizens of age the opportunity to enroll as voters.
For the record, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023, Ghanaians who have attained the age of 18 years have been denied the opportunity to be captured as registered voters. This is a constitutional wrong. Let anybody challenge me with facts and figures, Mr. Speaker. There has been no voter register opportunity for Ghanaians who have attained 18 years since 2021. That is a constitutional wrong, unacceptable to a country committed to multi-party constitutional democracy. Mr. Speaker, the right to vote and to be voted for is so sacred. Even for you elected members of parliament, one of the minimum qualifications of you to get voted as MPs is to show that you are a registered voter. That is the weight the Constitution imposes on this in Article 94 of the Constitution.
But speaking in defense of the EC's proposed constitutional instrument, MP for Ikuapem South and Deputy Local Government Minister Obiamo said the EC was justified in seeking to use the Ghana card as a sole identity document. Now, he contended that the guarantor system has been abused.
The meeting, and even if you look at this report, we seem to acknowledge that the guarantor system has been abused. And indeed, as practitioners, even as practitioners, the thought behind the guarantor system was to acknowledge that where a prospective registrant did not have any means of identification, they could fall on their parents, their spouses, their children, close family members, to guarantee and sign a form that indeed I know this person is qualified to be registered. And that as we have moved on along the years, this system has been abused in the sense that people overnight became guarantee contractors, where they join a queue, get registered, they stand by and say that they are waiting to endorse 10 or 5 people that they know them, they should be registered. It's a worry which we must take into consideration. And indeed, if for any reason the guarantee system has been maintained, all these issues must be addressed.
Now, Kweku, what is likely to happen now?
So, is calm. It's going to calm the situation, and that ultimately they are going to reach some agreement as to whether or not they are going to continue this committee of the whole meeting, or they are going to insist that Madam Jean Mensah herself appears before the committee, which seems a bit unlikely because over the last 1 year, Electoral Commission officials have been asked to appear before Parliament, either as committee of the whole or committees. Usually, Madam
Well,
we are. These consultations and these talks are going to go on for some time, but as we know now, tempers have calmed a little bit after the security were deployed into the chamber, and the Speaker of Parliament is now going to make a final determination as to the way forward.
All right. Now, grateful to you, Kweku. Let's still stay on elections, but now to Nigeria, where nationals will go to the polls on Saturday to elect a new president. The BBC is reporting that young Nigerians have turned Saturday's presidential election into the most competitive since the end of military rule in 1999, with many backing the third-party candidate to take on the country's two main political machines and bring change to the country after years of stagnation, corruption, and insecurity in Africa's most populous nation. Meanwhile, some Nigerians in Ghana may not be able to travel to Nigeria to cast their ballot, as many are unable to access the needed cash because of a botched rollout of new banknote. Some of them have been interacting with my colleague Michael Ashley.
Nobody's against voting or not voting. Every average citizen is very much happy to vote. But right now, the situation of the economy is very, very devastating. In the sense that at the time of the election, they brought up an issue or idea of redesigning our currency notes. Many people will not travel because there is no naira and there is no fuel.
KC, Buhari has been in power nearly 8 years. What do you make of his administration?
It's funny because, as at 2015 when he was coming, he came with the change mantra, coming to fight corruption and, coming to lift our economy. But the crazy thing is that things have gone so bad. They've gone from bad to worse. And I'm sure every Nigerian is tired at this point. He's tired.
Changing government, or you want APC to still be in power?
Boss, for me, APC government is a disaster. I say it and I'll continue to say it. These people came with bogus promises. They promised Nigerians heaven and earth. And along the line, the case was the reverse. So instantly, if even God can do it today, we want change in government.
What are the key things the next president must have or candidate must have for which you'll be voting for him or her?
Number one, APC, we have tested APC. It's like we have APC, they are like wives for years. And they come up with disguising behaviors. So in terms of APC, let me use the candidates as an example. It won't work like that.
And to me, I believe consistency is one of the key things we should look forward to in a president. So that's why my own candidate is actually Omoyele Sowore from African Action Congress, AAC. He's been consistent. He's been speaking truth to power, irrespective of who is in, who is in the picture.
He says P2B is not a candidate to be considered in this election.
Okay. Well, for me particularly, I repeat myself, Obi is my candidate.
Now, joining us from Nigeria is Kingsley Bassey, a broadcast journalist, and Bolahan Olajide, who is a political analyst. Now, gentlemen, thanks for your time. Let me start with you, Kingsley. Now, a senatorial candidate from one opposition party has been killed in a series of coordinated attacks in southeastern Enugu State ahead of this election. Tell us more about this particular development.
Well, very sad. By the way, thank you so much for the opportunity to discuss the elections, critical elections, you must say, and we're counting down. Just 2 days to the elections. And yeah, to the sad and unfortunate death of the senatorial candidate of the Labour Party in Enugu State. Just to mention and put things in perspective, Enugu State is southeastern Nigeria, and that region has been, at the heart of secessionist movement in the country. And what we saw last night, the news broke last night, was quite sad. It's not the first time we're seeing an attack on a candidate, right? A few months ago, there were reports of an attack on the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic Party. You'd like to say the major opposition party in the country, but that's debatable, by the way. There was a time where we want to call it the third force now, the Labour Party presidential candidate was also warned not to campaign at a certain location because of security threats. And overall, security threats and security concerns have characterized this election as far as in the past.
Now, a total of 18 candidates are campaigning for the top job, but only 3 have realistic chance of winning, according to opinion polls. For the electorate, who are the front runners in this election?
Well, definitely, you spot on with that to say that there may be 3 realistic chances. And for the electorate, it has to be, first, especially for the youth population, well, the Labour Party presidential candidate, Peter Obi, the former governor of Anambra State, is heavily backed by the 39.65% of eligible registered voters, and of course, other middle-aged persons in that same demographic of between 35 and 49, who make up 35% of registered voters, also majorly supporting him. Well, with all of that frenzy, which, is hugely, like I mentioned, supported, backed by the youth, there is also the governing party at the moment, the All Progressives Congress, and the presidential candidate, who's a former governor of Lagos State. By the way, data by the Electoral Commission was recently released, I think a few hours ago, and it shows that Lagos State, which is the base of the presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress, carries the most collected voters card, which means that he stands a greater chance, even if Labour Party also has a lot of supporters in Lagos. And then there is the People's Democratic Party and the presidential candidate, who is or was a former vice president at some point, who was in government for 8 years, and definitely he stands a chance in this election.
Okay, let me come to you, Olojide, here. Now, as a political analyst, you have over the years observed the campaigning and electioneering process in the country. How different is this year's process?
Okay, this year's process was a little bit different from what we had in the past. In previous periods, you have only the rallies were what dominated the campaign. So you have all these huge rallies where politicians come around and they just tell you what they're going to do. Those were not conversations, they were not engagement. They were more or less one directional communication from the guy who is holding the microphone. But this time around, we had some engagement in which some voter groups were gathered and they were able to ask questions, so that when the politician said, "Oh, I'm going to do this," then people can say, "How do you want to do that?" And he has a chance to respond to that. So we have a situation in which some of the politicians did avoid a few of this engagement. Some of them did not attend some of this engagement. Or it sets a different direction for how campaign will go going forward. I think this engagement, two-way things in which the voters are able to engage with the politicians, will continue to be part of our campaign process going forward.
So from what you're saying, would you say the Nigerian voter has now moved from voting for personalities to issue-based voting?
I think we're moving there. We're not quite there yet, but we are certainly not where we used to be.
Okay.
So we've gotten to that stage where all sort of voter groups, businessmen, politicians, students, everybody now has an opportunity to engage with these politicians in this engagement platform.
Okay.
Manufacturers, all sort of groups of voters are able to talk to their candidate. And I think that is impressive.
Now, Kingsley, we understand there is curfew in some parts of the country. Tell us about that development.
Well, that curfew takes effect from midnight Friday. That's tomorrow, 12 midnight Friday. And, it closes or stops at 6 p.m. Saturday. And that's to ensure that there is no movement and that, we can have a situation where security is intact. Well, for many persons, and I'm sure Bola Olajide would agree with me, this is not how we would like to see things or like to have things happen, because we know that it's 2023, we can deploy technology a lot more, but that curfew doesn't take effect until Friday, 12 midnight Friday, at least by the directives given by the Inspector General of Police through the Force Public Relations Officer, just yesterday.
Okay. Now, so what are some of these areas affected by the curfew?
Well, it has to be it's going to be the entire country. There will be no movement, like I mentioned, 12 midnight Friday till 6 p.m. Saturday. Just to also remind you, election happens from 8:30 Saturday morning, and voting closes by 2:30 p.m. So between 2:30 and 6 p.m., there'll be movement, of course, when closing stops, collation, and sensitive materials moving back to collation centers at the state and local government level. So it's just in general to ensure that security agents, down the road, and they take charge of things. So there are no certain places where movements are restricted and allowed in some other places. As we've seen in previous elections, all over the country, there's a restriction of movement, and only security men and accredited media, international, local observers, as well as emergency responders are allowed on the road.
Now, Kingsley, the BBC is reporting that young Nigerians have turned Saturday's presidential election into the most competitive since the end of military rule in 1999. Tell us how different this campaign process has been for political parties and candidates. Olojade has already told us that people were able to now ask questions. But how different has this been from the past elections and campaigning?
Well, this particular campaign process, which started a few months ago, I think 5 months ago, has been issue-based. Even if, once in a while, we've had pockets of disinformation, deliberate use and spread of fake news to bring down the personality of other candidates. Besides that, this is hugely different. First is the emergence as a front runner of the Labour Party presidential candidate, and again, because of his youthful, if you like, agility, his antecedents in the past, he was former governor of Anambra State. There's been so much backing for him, and this you would see in the way that he's been widely supported on social media. But back to the crux of this question, which is how different this has been from previous elections. We've seen debates organized by several organizations. I'm talking in professional bodies, and candidates have been forced literally to attend this. Unlike what they said a few minutes ago, initially or in the past, what we've had were candidates holding rallies where they dance, call musicians. We've seen the same in this election cycle, but then it's been slightly different from what we've had in the past, where you can directly engage with candidates, pop questions, professional bodies, asking critical questions of the economy, of security, and the how. And then the engagement with the media has been impressive. Spokespersons have been drilled literally at this engagement. And going into the election, you can, and then post-election, when the winner eventually emerges, you can hold people accountable by what they've said in the past.
Olojade, let me ask you about how you describe the security situation ahead of Saturday's polls.
Okay, I think largely security is okay for the most part of the country. However, there are some areas where there are security challenges, but we have continued to have, assurances from the security agent that, look, we're on top of. So if you look at a place like Lagos, where you're likely to have, where we have the largest registered voters, as well as number of registered voters that have picked up their PVC, that is Lagos State. Also, the state with the largest population is said to be about 24 million people living in Lagos State alone. Apart from the regular internal security, which is largely dominated by the police, you now have other paramilitary and quasi-security agencies supporting that. You have the civil, the civil police, along with the regular police. And you also have military presence in Lagos. The number of military trucks that are in strategic places in Lagos today is huge. Of course, the comfort we have been told is that they are not supposed to do anything. They are there for a show to let anybody who might have some funny ideas about trouble to know that, look, we are here. So they will be there in many strategic parts of Lagos and many strategic parts of Nigeria as well, to ensure that voters feel confident and safe to go out there and cast their ballot, and we can have a semblance of a free and fair and credible election.
Okay. Now, will any of the front runners, most of whom have been in the political system for decades, be able to turn the country around?
Well, that's a big question. There have been issues about if you want to really make a change, will an establishment person, someone who has been part of the system for so long, will they be the right person to change the system? And the answer to this question is that the frontline candidates are not exactly new people to Nigeria's politics. The 3 or 4, I would say 4 candidates are not exactly new. These are people who have been in politics for the past 20 years at least. Some more, some have for much more than that. So if someone has been in politics for 20 years, you want to really ask that question, whether that person is a new breed or is part of the old breed.
Okay.
The new breed that we really have are in the smaller parties, what some people will call also ran, which means they are not likely to see much vote. It's these 4 candidates that are likely to see the chunk of the vote.
Gentlemen, I'm grateful for your time here on Joy News Prime. Thank you so much. So that's Kingsley and Olojade. You're still watching Joy News Prime with me, Samuel Kojo Bray. Still to come in the bulletin, Ghana facing another major hurdle in desperate attempt to get debt relief as Germany declares it is only prepared to help if certain conditions are met. We'll hear from the German ambassador to Ghana on a day the finance minister announced the make-or-break high-power delegation to China to plead for their support to debt relief has been postponed.
Yes, we are willing to take our share of responsibility as one of the major bilateral donors to Ghana, but only if all the others also join in this effort.
Back from the break now. The government of the Federal Republic of Germany is giving Ghana some key conditions under which it will trigger diplomatic channels to assess Ghana's proposal for a debt relief from its major external donors. Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta held talks with Germany's ministers responsible for economic development and trade as part of measures to influence the Paris Club of wealthy nations to accept Ghana's debt restructuring, especially China, which lays claim to about $1.7 billion out of the $5.7 billion. Now speaking in a yet-to-be-aired interview on Foreign Affairs, German ambassador to Ghana, Daniel Kroll, tells my colleague Blessed Soga that some internal measures have to be met in order to give reasons to German authorities to intervene and support Ghana's debt restructuring.
Giving your own challenges, unique challenges that you're facing as a result of the Russian-Ukraine war. The Nord Stream 2 obviously suffered an impact as a result of this conflict. So given this situation, do you share the same view that you're not in a position to help in the economic recovery of some African countries and allies of yours, such as Ghana?
You mentioned the visit of our Minister of Finance, who recently had talks in Ghana. And his message was clearly, yes, we are prepared to help.
Right.
But we are prepared to help only if certain conditions are met. First of all, we insist that those measures that can be taken here in this country have to be taken. The second condition is that, yes, we are willing to take our share of responsibility as one of the major bilateral donors to Ghana, but only if all the others also join in this effort. And there is a multilateral framework that was set up exactly for these kind of crises. And we urge and try to convince all stakeholders in this process to stick to this agreed framework. It's the G20 common framework.
But that framework, I'm afraid, Mr. Ambassador, is facing some setback, especially on the part of China. Our president was very categorical in that statement when he engaged the finance minister from your country. He's asking for the help of Germany to navigate that hurdle with China when it comes to the Paris Club. Practically, what's your country going to do in that regard to help?
Well, I think we all have to try to convince China also to take its share in this process. China is the largest bilateral donor to Ghana, so China has to be part of the solution. Now, Ghana has its means to convince China to do that. We, Germany, will also use our channels to convince that it is in our common interest that we all agree on a way forward.
Now, there's fresh fire on the heels of Finance Minister Ken Ofori-Atta's NPP MP for Subing, Eugene Boakye-Ntwi, reiterate the majority caucus calls for President Akufo-Addo to sack him. Last year, more than 90 NPP MPs asked President Akufo-Addo to dismiss Mr. Ofori-Atta, but the president managed to convince the group to hold on until an IMF deal is concluded. In an interview with the Joy News, Eugene Boakye-Ntwi, who is part of the leadership of that group, says the 2024 elections will be fought on the economy, and sacking Ken Ofori-Atta will give the NPP a fair shot at winning.
But we belong to the same party. We went out there and campaigned for him to become president. So at a certain stage, he needs to listen to us. We want him to leave a befitting legacy. I, for one, sitting here, I was a deputy minister in the first term. So I'm part of that legacy that we are all seeking to protect. Right? As it stands, things are not looking good. You saw the brouhaha about the pensioners, the haircuts, the Tokyo Joes, name it. So things are not well. Things are not looking well at all. And elections in our country, whether you like it or not, are fought on two fronts. You look at the economy, you look at corruption. Right? If the economy is not doing well and corruption is also not being tackled, then you are on your way out. And look, yes, if you're able to maybe press all the right buttons between now and next year, December, we may have a fighting chance of salvaging the economy and taking the fight to the NDC. As it stands, things are not that great. And we must all be, very realistic about what is out there.
Now, the race to be flag bearer of the opposition National Democratic Congress is getting hotter, as some women organizers have also thrown full support for Dr. Kwabena Duffuor after 16 regional chairmen publicly did same for John Mahama Wednesday. The women wing of the NDC in the Ashanti region, where Dr. Kwabena Duffuor hails from, say he has distinguished himself in leadership and needs to be elevated to the flag bearer of the party. And subsequently, the president of the Republic, now Ashanti Regional Women's Organizer, Gloria Jose, says Dr. Duffuor has the solutions to the sufferings and pains in the country, a reason that has informed their decision.
Ashanti Regional Women's Wing. And he decided this year, you better form some Dr. Kwabena Duffuor. And I buy and so Modia Mae. See, we dear dance, you say, NDC party, you say Democratic Party, Ampa. Yadamase. And ye Modia Mae, you be my papa, Dr. Kwabena Duffuor Saka. Na obey Bibian so pepe. Yes, I diaba. I bet too many. Na mo hwehwem wiya. Minim say nyame ne pa. Enkunimdie beba. Na kunimde no so ba NDC na adu nko. Esa say ko kese na da nim 2024 no. Ehia kokoduro na do akoko. Eti na ma ya sorry. E ma na ye brekese e wo grassroots. Enti ye ba nya ba beboa. Ya da mo ase. Nyame hira mo se mo age ye fa so.
Now, Vinacopa has unveiled a grand scheme to improve the wine culture in Ghana. This will be done by raising connoisseurs and helping Ghanaians complement local meals with vintage wine. There's more in the following report.
Wine lovers cultivate a love of wine through decades of sampling, but only a select few become serious connoisseurs. In the past, wine culture was insignificant in Accra, but the group is slowly changing this. With the introduction vintage wine from Slovenia, Vinacopa Ghana has started a cultural revolution targeted at young and middle-class people. The plan is to develop the Ghanaian palate for quality wine through wine clubs and regular feeds. This was revealed by the local representative of Vinacopa, Ivan Chum, at a wine tasting event organized to, among others, outdoor new wine products onto the Ghanaian market.
We're trying to introduce the Ghanaian people to the entire wine culture, which is the fact that wine normally goes with food. So for a while now, since we've been around, we've been trying to teach Ghanaians or teach our clients how they can pair various wines with the kind of foods that can make both, like, complement each other, can make the wine taste better, can make the food taste better. We're trying to engineer a wine that could pair very well with African food, because all these wines we're drinking here was not made with the African palate or the African cuisine in mind. So yesterday we had the chef do some apapransa, we had the chef make some omuto, we had the chef make our famous gobe, and which we paired with various wines yesterday. And from the feedback and remarks that we had from most of our clients, it was quite an interesting one, considering that these wines in the first place were not made for these kind of meals. So we can only...
A wine expert from Slovenia with Vinacopa explained their main motive is to make Ghanaians complement local cuisines with Vinacopa wine, a move which is already yielding results.
Actually, we have one event yesterday with typical Ghana foods, and we are enjoying very much, and people who was there, they are enjoying very much. So we are find a really good connection between our wines and Ghanaian typical food also, and also Western cuisine here, and we are find a very good connection between our Refoshk, Malvasia, sweet Refoshk, and sparkling wine, you know, especially sparkling wine go very well with this spiciness and nice flavors which you gives us just the Ghanaian dishes, you know.
On her part, a wine enthusiast was full of praises for Vinacopa wine's fantastic taste and quality.
It's been amazing, it's been fun, and there's class. This is quality, and then it's crispy. That's the taste. I love it.
JC Sewabuafo's report read to you.
We'll take a quick break. We'll be back with Showbiz. Stay with us. Okay, so welcome back to Showbiz. And the queen of Showbiz, Becky Bex, is here.
You know why I'm laughing?
No.
Because of the name thing that I heard.
Oh.
You know the name.
Yeah.
The viewers won't understand, but...
Yeah, but I mean, the thing is, your name is sweet and it goes with you.
Oh.
You know, yeah.
Thank you. But Brace, breaking news coming in this evening is that a federal judge on Thursday sentenced R. Kelly to 20 years in prison for sex crimes.
You know the song that came to mind? I believe I can fly.
Where is he flying to?
I don't know.
To jail?
Right now he's flying. Yeah.
Maybe we should fly. We should fly
or the best song for him at this time is If I Could Turn Back the Hand of Time.
Well, I would want to fly. Let's go to Togo. Well, we are actually going to Togo because something is happening there. I'm talking about Togo in Worship. Togo in Worship, Joe Metal is actually headlining that. Akese Brimpong will be performing. And Bethel Revival Choir will be performing. Hopefully, I will be there to, get you everything that you need. But here is Joe Metal telling us all about what to expect.
Yeah, so we call it Togo in Worship. I gathered a few of my friends. It's myself, Bethel. We came together to put this up to be a blessing to the people in Togo. But not only as Akese Brimpong is joining us, Kofi Kakare is joining us, Philippa Jale, then even in Togo we have one young man called Mauto Tate who is also joining us as we lift up praise and worship. So the same thing we do here, each time it's just Ghana or somewhere, but this time we've decided to take it to our brothers and sisters there.
Well, away from Joe Metal, let's talk about Black Sheriff because he has reached another milestone this time. The breakout star has channeled his artistic prowess into a song for the upcoming blockbuster movie Creed 3. He has been also named one of Ghana's superstars. So comedian Michael Blackson has named Shatta Wale, Stonebwoy, Sarkodie and Black Sheriff as the only superstars from Ghana. He made this comment in an interview on the Drink Champs podcast. According to Michael, these 4 superstars mentioned are the only ones that Ghana has when it comes to international representations as compared to Nigeria. Michael Blankson there. I don't understand why Diana Hamilton wasn't on that list.
I also don't understand why he doesn't have Kofi Kenata on it. He doesn't have Samini on it. Samini created the...
I know, but I mean, obviously...
Okay, let's do some throwbacks here.
Throwback Thursday, we're throwing back to some of your favorite American rappers when they used to be babies, let me say. That's Drake. Who is this?
That's my man, Eminem.
Okay, great. Great. So who is this?
Oh, this is Tupac Shakur.
You're good.
No, bring me another one. This is
Jay-Z, Sean Carter.
Bring me another one.
Who's this?
This one.
Okay.
Is it?
Well, there's another one. Kanye West.
Yeah, Kanye.
Okay, you missed that. Oh, that's my man, Kendrick Lamar. Look at him. What happened to the hair?
Yo, Lil Wizzy.
Nicki Minaj. Onika Maraj.
Hey.
Who's this? He's forgotten the name.
Oh no, Snoop Doggy now.
No, they mentioned it to you.
No. I mean, how can I forget Snoop Doggy?
Oh, you forgot.
The grandfather of hip hop.
Great. Okay. I wish I had a throwback.
No. So that's it. Now remember to brush your teeth before you go to bed this evening.
Right.
And brush tomorrow morning when you wake up. Brush your teeth with either Pepsodent Cavity Fighter, Pepsodent Charcoal, Pepsodent Herbal, or Pepsodent Triple Protection. Because with Pepsodent, every smile matters. And that's
my smile matters.
Okay, that's how we wrap it all up. There's more news on myjoyonline.com.
Beverly Room is up next with Prime Business.
Thanks for your company. Yeah, you did.